What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Majima in Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, and talk about the potential that they got with this guy. Now, I've talked about this in passing, but I really wanted to make just a full-on video and get your guys' thoughts, in the comments of what you think they can do. But one thing I've highly stressed, in this upcoming game is, I'm very excited. Okay, this is the Black Flag 2 that I've been waiting for. I think this is low-key gonna just be like the ultimate pirate game, while also just being like a rock solid, like a dragon type game. It's probably going to be the best of all worlds. And we've gone over quotes of like how they're going to treat Majima. I think I made a video about the quote that they were talking about. You can't make it basically too serious because you kind of lose something there because of the kind of guy Majima is. I kind of pushed back a little bit on that, but in the same quote they did say, well, at the same time, it actually is probably going to be more emotional than you think it is. Now, where I stand on this, and I said in that video, and I'll say it here, I think you got a ton of potential with Majima just in general, right? So you have a guy, and I know there's a little bit of like speculation as to who the guy really is and why he does what he does. I mean, I read Yakuza 0 a specific way. I mean, my interpretation was he hides it, right? I mean, he does it. At the end of the game, right, he gives up his past life. He gives up basically his self, I want to say persona, but actually he creates his new persona, right? He creates this mad dog, and he clearly, I think, illustrates at the end of that game that he can turn it on and off. He's doing it to protect other people. He's doing it actually to protect the girl that he loves at that time, right? And he kind of just takes that and runs with it, right? Like he is crazy, and maybe he always had that edge to him, but he actually does it out of protection. He does it out of care, and in that way, he's not just like a psychopath or just a psycho just to do it. There's actually a lot of layers there, and I think, honestly, I feel like they didn't know what to do with him for like certain games, but generally as we've gone, he definitely has like mellowed out, right? I think he's approaching 60 years old in the game's world, and you look at him in the last two games, right, when he kind of runs into Ichiban in 7, and then when he fights Kiryu, and it's winter time in like the cabin in the woods situation, he's calmed down a bit, and he's kind of living this life of like almost like Pirates of the Caribbean 3, where like the world has kind of passed pirates by, and they're kind of living in this like world that doesn't exist anymore, right? This aging kind of world where they don't belong anymore. That's kind of them. That's kind of the Yakuza in general in these last couple of games, right? The world's kind of moving on. These old dogs, these old guard, they're not respected. They're not around. They're not used to their capabilities anymore. They're pushed back. So I guess what I'm trying to paint this picture in the first 2 minutes here is that already you showed back in 0 that this guy has depth, okay? And while, you've played around with him quite a bit since then, you've shown off his crazy side, but you've also shown he can kind of mellow out when he needs to. Well, now we enter this game, and I think there's a lot of room to really go places with this man. I've said this in past videos. The fact that he has amnesia, right, I think is a perfect opportunity to, like, they're going to lean into the chaoticness, or you can see it. You can see it in the trailers. You can see it in the previews, all that stuff. He is crazy. He's the unreliable narrator of this own story of his, right, all that jazz. But you also have a guy who at his core is actually like a pretty good guy if you think about it, and again, like a caring person, but he also doesn't remember like the past. So I guess he might not remember like the Yakuza 0, like what he went through and why he kind of had to change things up, but he also shouldn't be able to remember the insanity that he goes through, right? Or how insane of a person he in my opinion, he puts on that act in the later games. He shouldn't really remember any of that. And even if he does, by the way, as he starts to build that back, that is a way to take this guy back in time. And I'm not saying like flashbacks, although I do think, by the way, it would be a good opportunity to do that, right? Let's dive into this man's psyche like one more time, and let's just kind of see what he's going through now, right? Because again, there's more behind him than I think he shows. I think he's capable basically of more mentally than what's shown off in these games. Those are the kind of things, and I've said this before, that Noah, right, the kid, the boy in this game, Pirate Yakuza, I feel like this is a good opportunity because this is somebody that he can kind of love. Honestly, he can show some sort of care. Like, I think he very much cares about Kiryu, but it's different, right? He hasn't, and he's never really had this kind of relationship just in general. Majima, right, is more like a brother to him. He's had kind of all different relationships, but to have this boy and to kind of be the mentor, the father type figure to him, him and kind of see where that leads? And then can we kind of, again, pull back the layers, and are we going to get the crazy side of him, but then maybe he'll be his true self maybe around this boy, or maybe he'll explain to him, okay, well, this is kind of what I do because I'm hurting inside, or, this is why I do this. I think that could be super, super good. So, look, I'm excited for the whole game. I'm excited to just kind of lose myself for 30, 40 hours, do the fun mini games, do the brawler type combat, do the ship stuff that I think is going to be outrageously fun. But I am kind of expecting this deep emotion, and I don't know how much I'll get. I really don't. But I keep saying it, and I'll say it again here, Like a Dragon Gaiden, okay? When at the very end, when Kiryu's crying over the camera, that is for me personally, that is the most emotional this series has ever made me. I got so close to tears in that moment. It was beautiful. It was outrageously good, and I don't think it's ever been beaten, to be quite honest with you. So they are capable, even in these spin-off games, to show some emotional, maybe a little bit like dangling keys, like, hey, let's, because they do that there, I guess, right? Hey, here's the orphanage. Hey, here's those kids. You remember the kids? You remember what they meant to Kiryu? You remember what Kiryu meant to them? Let's kind of take you back on this nostalgia trip. You can do that here too. Like, Majima has a past, and Majima has layers. Not the same as Kiryu, but he does have layers. So I feel like if you could do it, 2 years ago, less than 2 years, with the man who erased his name, you just did it. You just showed that you can do that in a spin-off game. Let's do it again here. So that's kind of what I'm expecting, to be honest with you. I really, really want that for Majima as a character, is let's explore this guy a little bit, because he has gone through a lot. He's been up and down. He's been underutilized. He's been utilized just right, but it's also been a while. It's really been a while since we've gotten a lot of depth to his character, I feel like, and this has to be the chance to do it. If you don't do it here, I don't think we're getting it anymore, from this point on. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.